You know, being open about your tragic experiences can be a healthy way to process your trauma. You know, to find people who see themselves in the situation or have gone through the same and want to support you. Unless you post it on Twitter, then actually you're not a victim and you should just shut your mouth. This can either be from talking about your horrible experience from a professor, going homeless because of a psychotic parent, or in this case, someone you thought was a friend turning out to be someone else entirely. Hello, I'm Dovin. With the help of my friend Dev, we're gonna look into the online comic I Forgot You Were a Man. Also, to preface, you should not attack anyone mentioned in this video, and this is not a video that's gonna be making fun of the actual artist herself. But if you do have something to say, maybe you should leave a comment. Maybe you should argue with people in my comment section. That'll help me in the algorithm, just like and subscribing. June 17th, 2024, Twitter user and artist Ashmatix released a personal 10-page comic. This would go over the experiences with a childhood friend. In it, she details how, of course, she knew the gender of her friend, but didn't think too much of it. They were close friends as kids. They would fight, play games, and just have fun. That to her, this fellow was an exception, that somehow made them different from other guys. But then the guy said something misogynistic. In that moment, she felt stupid for not acknowledging it, that it caught her off guard. Despite it all, this guy was still a man. Now, later in the video, I will go over more important details and discussions what this comic was actually trying to say, but let me first tell you that Twitter did not like this comic. Also, if you're drawing right now instead of paying attention, please look at the screen every once in a while, because this is gonna be a lot of important stuff to show. Thank you. The average response would call her a man-hater, that she's being a misandrist against this man. Some people even said that she was the one that ruined a lifelong friendship because of a harmless joke. Noyomi would document this under the Trauma Dump Comics label, even capturing how it was spread as well as what the guy may have said. Twitter user Bitching Burner believes it said, "We broke up. I couldn't get her to do anything with me." And people would use this template to make jokes, both misogynistic and not. Oddly enough, out of all people, YouTube animator Dubascubas would chime in. I only mention him as on the YouTube drama Reddit page, some people, for some reason, thought he was the person the comic was about. To some, he felt so passionate about the comic like he had a personal connection. No, I don't believe he's the guy in the comic, because there's literally nothing to prove that. Honestly, I think he just wanted to say something, and that was it. Simple as. In the tweets, he says that she should have brought up how she felt bad about what the guy said, instead of making a comic, and that her friend is just a guy and can't control that he's a guy. He then calls her evil, complaining that she doesn't even tell us what he said. We'll circle back to all that, as that was a bit of a common sentiment. But due to the comic, people would dig into her other videos to try and find more about her. Two pivotal parts would be about a comic and a TikTok. The former was about if a guy wore hoochie shorts and has stomach or abs showing, she would just blank out. And some people called her a hypocrite for that. Yeah, and that was that was hypocrisy right there. What? It seems you hate men, but also you want to have sex with them. Wow, very curious. I mean, it's just a joke. Like, if anyone else made it, people would have been fine with it. It kind of felt like people were trying to prove either she likes women and just hates men, or is a hypocrite that she likes men, but hates men, I suppose. I would pull this evergreen tweet from Thali, that the same work of art can be judged in two different ways. On the opposite side, do you think that all men who hate women don't like women in some capacity? Like, they're actually all gay, not because they like men, because they hate women that much? As for the TikTok, it was about some art she drew of a sexy nun and didn't like that people, mostly men, asked her to draw porn to the character. This was paired with another tweet people found from her wanting to make Not Safe for Work 18+ account to draw a Sona and weird fetish art. Gotta be real, this is just basic consent stuff and an artist having a preference of what they want drawn. They drew a sexy nun and disliked that people wanted to draw the nun doing sex stuff. And in this tweet, she's like, I want to draw sex stuff of my persona. So people misworded what she said to make it seem like she was against people even being attracted to the nun, which is, of course, not what she said at all.
I appreciate that you think she's attractive. She was meant to gatekeep Gaslight Girl Boss like the hot girl she is. But this was received with a much different response than I had hoped. So if you're here because you think I'm funny or just like my animations, hey, I'm here because I think you're funny and I like your animations, then I love you. And please give me your hand in marriage. But if this is you...
I've talked to a lot of artists, safe for work and not safe for work, and both groups have a lot of OCs that they prefer not being drawn doing sex stuff, and other OCs are like, yeah, they would totally have sex. That's it. That's really all that boiled down to. That was it. She did put an emphasis on the 90% male audience finding it, and the platform most likely catered it towards those men, as the algorithm thought it was a basic not safe for work post that they're used to seeing. Simple as. Like she said in the video, she's fine with people finding the character attractive, but didn't like the feeling of constantly being asked, like, hey, you should draw her having sex. You should draw her doing this. You should draw doing that. I will say in the short, she should emphasize just not wanting to draw a specific thing rather than focusing on the men part, mainly because we saw in the responses to the initial comic, some people only saw things at face value. Oh, actually, Twitter artist Intrabang kind of relates to this a little. She made a post saying she doesn't want to be full not safe for work for many reasons, and one has said reasons because people speak like this. But back to Ashmatix, the hate would continue to spread onto other accounts. On TikTok, she would have to turn off a few of her posts as she most likely got a lot of hate comments. As YouTube, we would see a lot of people commenting making fun of her, reminding her that men exist or just just being weird in general. One translated comic said, "Let's see that Hispanic sees me and greets me. In my humble opinion, this design is ugly, the other one is a copy of Jaden, but her tits are so delicious." Yeah, that is a very normal thing to say to people. Actually, I'm your lawyer, and I advise you to say that all the time to every woman you meet ever. Other people would comment saying that she privated her Twitter accounts, and we have to keep her fans up to date whenever she gains traction. I'm gonna hold on, as we will get to the actual meaning of the comic, but is this really worth it? Is that worth your time? It's my duty to patrol the comments to remind people that she made a bad comic about her experience with a guy. Though in the responses, one guy was like, who are you warning exactly? Why do I need to be warned? To which they got a reply that said, she was being very mean to all men. And then the previous guy said, "Oh man, my life as a man is in shambles because what she said." But yeah, she would private her Twitter accounts. The last thing being a retweet of a post from June 18, 2024. She would make a TikTok January 18, 2024, telling people that she will come back soon to talk about what she had gone through. All right, so now it's time to circle back to the actual comic and go to the deeper meaning, or in some cases, lack thereof. For the comments made by Dubus, a lot of people would share the sentiment. Why I'm making this comic is I talk to them. I can't believe you burned a friendship over a simple joke. Wow, you're just like overreacting and like really just evil, I would say. First and foremost, I want you to calm down because like that's a lot of words just saying right now. But first off, we don't know if she actually talked to him or not, but I will have the benefit of the doubt that she did talk with him and stop being friends with him. Also, I don't know why people are harping on the childhood friends thing. Like there isn't a list of things that if your friend turned out to be, you wouldn't just like stop being friends with them immediately. And the main part being, he's a man, he can't help being a man, when that was like not the meaning of the comic at all. Luckily, since I'm explaining this in a video, not a tweet, so I'll try to explain myself better. Basically, she thought her friend was exempt for being misogynistic, that she had known him for so long, and he was just a sweet guy. The thing is, the guy has a life outside of her, and he experiences different things and grows as a person, for better or for worse. When she says he turned out to be a man, it's not that he is a literal guy, but rather he is derogatorily a man. She isn't saying all men are bad, but some men, the derogatory idea of a man is bad. What he said was blurred, as it doesn't actually matter what he said. If you have seen my video over your favorite student, it's about a woman who was sexually harassed and attempted to be groomed by a professor. In it, we saw comments saying she actually wasn't groomed, and the poor man is being harassed by a bitch of a woman. This is what Ash means when she says, a man. She made a piece of art, and the words are blurred for a reason. It's not a call-out, nor was it supposed to be a debate in the comments. It's just her personal emotions. We don't know what was written, and it could be what was actually said, a placeholder, or just nothing words. Arguing about the severity of what he said, that there are only specific things to feel bad about, or that she is stupid for having emotions or even feeling bad in the first place. Also, for their side, if the guy knew her for so long, why did he say that to her, actually? Depending on your friendship with another person, there are some offensive jokes you can share, and both parties agree, it's pretty funny, actually. There's nothing wrong with sharing a funny haha meme, even if it's dark or offensive humor. But the thing is, I don't know if that was what he was trying to do with her. Perhaps it was a way to test the waters of what he could say around this person, like a, haha, just kidding, unless, haha, actually, no, just kidding, maybe? There's also something I see when people mention trans men in part of understanding women better. Not in the sense that they don't see trans men as men, but trans men once experienced being a woman. Also, for the tweets about the show, I'm not mutuals with her. I just contacted someone who is mutual to take screenshots. Just letting you know, if you're still drawing or playing a game and have me on the second screen, then pay attention, please. While you're at it, like and subscribe. You should go do that right now, actually. Ash would make a few tweets explaining more about herself, that she left out what she said on purpose because people would rush to defend the guy. Another comment from Circio VT said the title "Slick with Him" made it feel uncomfortable. Ash explained that women tend to feel safer and more comfortable with each other than men. She originally felt that her friend wasn't capable of being misogynistic, so she shared her false sense of security with him. Then Circe would say him actually being a man isn't why he's like that. It makes it sound like it's the whole male gender's fault he's like that. She would say that men feeling unable to say misogynistic things is literally a systemic issue. And I probably should clarify right now that this doesn't mean that misandry does not exist, actually, and even I experienced it a couple of times. So when I saw the reaction to this comic and thought deeper about it, it was just about a woman being uncomfortable about her longtime friend. This wasn't even like a call-out post or anything. There wasn't even any memes mentioned, just none of that. That's why when I saw people linger around warning people because of the man-hater thing, I guess, I was like, that's a bit funny. Really? Really, is she a man-hater? At worst, she isn't someone a lot of people would be friends with because they would deem her too sensitive, but at best, she did have a genuinely bad experience. And even if she had explained what the guy actually said, clarify she did speak to him, or that she didn't just make a comic about a friend, I don't think much would have changed. In fact, there were a lot of people wanting to apologize, but for what exactly? Sorry everyone, I was just overreacting. I now understand that I should just let guys be misogynistic towards me always, because it might be a joke. Actually, I'm gonna take the L. My bad. But like, in order not to get get bullied from the internet, she has to accept it and be like, actually, I'm the one in the wrong this whole time. And the guy did a very noble thing to me, actually. Though many people are like, damn, if she hates misogyny, I'm gonna show her real misogyny, actually. And this happens a lot on Twitter. An article by BBC by Marina String called Twitter Insiders, We Can't Protect Users from Trolling Under Musk, goes into the platform's change. Quote,
internal research by Twitter suggests those safety measures reduce trolling by 60%. An engineer working for Twitter told me nobody's taking care of this type of work now, likening the platform to a building that seems fine from the outside, but inside is on fire.
Within this article, it tells of a woman named Ellie Wilson who was sexually assaulted while at university. Well, initially there was support, but in January 2023, when she tweeted about the attacker getting sentenced, she got misogynistic replies, some even saying she deserved to get sexually assaulted. And that sounds very familiar to a video already made. Where previously on Twitter, there were nudges in place to say to people, probably don't say that thing that you're about to type, or even have more effective ways to ban people, that is just not the case anymore. As the article describes, it empowers the troll and says, actually, what you're doing is not so bad, and actually here's money for doing that. Keep at it, man. So I see people saying Ash is overreacting, I do wonder how genuine it actually is. From someone wanting to be edgy, just want attention, or even someone just saying things to make money. As I say in these videos, Twitter is probably not the best place to vent or have personal art be seen. By personal, I don't mean like drawings, I mean like personal stories like the ones we're talking about right here. But like I said before, this isn't to say I'm for a outright ban on certain types of jokes. I'm a fan of dark and offensive humor, and not everyone's into it, and also there's a time and place for it. Actually, this also pairs with knowing your audience. Even if that's between two people, you must make sure that both are comfortable and understand what the other person is comfortable with. I did see a meme on Twitter that was like, dark humor enjoyers, and it's about a CEO and not minorities. But I also asked my audience what they thought about the comic, as well as my friend Dev. Is I think she has a more personal connection to the story than me for some reason. I wonder why that could be.
Oh my god, wow, a woman! Excuse me. What a lot of people seem to be missing is that even if someone is a friend or family member or partner, it can be terrifying to say, what you said hurt me or was misogynistic, regardless of their gender. While I do agree that this comic appears to be bundling a group of people into this one box, that being a man equals being misogynistic, which isn't right in my opinion, at the same time, I don't know what views the artist holds. If this is even saying that all men are X, we also need to look into the fact that those born as male are often raised a certain way where they may not even realize some of their thoughts or words are hurtful against women. No one deserves to be harassed over art expressing their feelings. It's what most art is, after all. Be it ugly or beautiful, art reflects the artist, especially when it's something as personal as a vent piece. Block and move on. I think it's a great comic. Specifically, the way that it's said, it feels like poetry, and I definitely think that this is going to bring up the not all men argument. But when people argue that it's not all men, they're proving that they're still man enough to indirectly support the same men that are very capable and willing to do bad things. Humans notice a pattern, and if it's a bad pattern, we will avoid it. We do that for survival. It's the same exact thing when women are cautious of men. When we start noticing a pattern, we feel strong emotions. Yes, it's not actually all men, but it is enough. I also think the harassment is because of how we can't take anything seriously anymore, and how when people in power see others get power around them, or even acknowledge the power that they have, they feel like their power is getting stripped away, if that makes sense. No, I get her idea. Or maybe I read it differently, but it's not so much about how all men are bad, but the fact that most guys will have a completely different experience from their female friends. He doesn't see how calling women certain things is harmful because he doesn't get that sort of situation in his life. He may not think that much about catcalling a girl because he never feared being catcalled. One would think having empathy towards other people would make you not be misogynistic to half of the population. But at the end of the day, they are guys. They get taught to act this way. They get pressured to act like this. And in a lot of cases, they become like this. I had a similar situation happen to me actually, but it was my dad. He had 2 daughters he raised in love, but he still talks about women as objects. It hurt to realize that he too was a man, the same way the artist did. Chiming in with my 2 cents as someone who was born and raised and still identifies as a woman. In my opinion, I think that detractors who respond to this with, oh, not all men, are completely missing the point. I think most of the people who say not all men because I exist. It protects themselves and their ego more than it states a factual truth. Yes, obviously, no duh, not all men, but there are enough men where it's a problem. And saying not all men doesn't fix anything. It brushes it aside. Think about it like a bunch of apples. Some of them are rotten on the outside and and you can tell, and you can just pick them out and, ignore them, never even have to interact with them, just don't touch them because they're rotting. But some of them are rotten on the inside, and you have to inspect it, you have to look closely, you have to run it through tests, and even after all that, you could still take a bite and get sick. But there would be a lot less rotting apples if we went to the root of the issue and took proper care of the tree.
This comic, like the others I've talked about on my channel, all end in the same conclusion, that being vulnerable on platforms like Twitter will lead to hate and harassment. For this case, the harassment had won. I would see very little people wanting to defend her or say, hey, maybe everyone's being a bit too much right now. That there are people hovering in her comment sections itching to warn people about the supposed man-hater. That she privated because she's scared of the endless harassment and people trying to correct her in her evil ways, like that's ever worked, ever. She said that one day she will return to platform and may even talk about how she feels and what happened. I wish her the best luck in doing so, though I will say for the majority of people, the idea of who they believe she is probably going to be stuck in their minds forever. That no matter what she says, probably won't be good enough. That the goalpost is forever moved, just out of arm's reach. In cases like this, I have seen before if one does apologize, that part is actually just left out of the conversation. To end ends on the person never growing or learning from the experience, or the summarized concept of how someone should feel about the situation. The assumption that she never spoke to the guy, as was the assumption this call was done in spite of talking it out. Or that she's just a man-hater overreacting on a simple joke that most would be fine with, but she's just a snowflake. I don't know if any explanation would be good enough, or even if returning to the platform without the aid of mutuals would help people actually hear her out. Of course, all of this just isn't an isolated incident. Twitter user SinfulXMads would relate a story about their friends saying they would be boring to sexually assault. A quote tweet from Kitty Sarin shares a similar sentiment to the topic of today's video, that you can get close to a guy and boom, reminded that they're a man. In the end, the story, for now, ends on a sour note. I hope the best for her and that she can move on from this experience. That her time in college is going well and she's with people to be there for her, rather than people here waiting for her to come back to make her feel bad for even speaking up about what happened. But even with the sour notes, I hope you keep on drawing. Hope you keep on creating and making what you like and just trying to have a nice day. Even if it's not today, you can try tomorrow, the next day, but no matter what, please keep on drawing and being yourself. That's a good lesson.